Good morning, Anand. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you. Good morning.
Welcome to Department of IT.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think you are passed out of 2011, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so that means around 9, 10 years
Yeah.
have passed.
10
So
years.
department and college has changed a lot.
I know. I know.
Please do visit college with your all classmates and your seniors.
Sure, sir.
Khud, madam,
Yes, sir.
we can start.
Yes, sir. Pratap, will you please start?
Your voice is low.
Okay, ma'am.
So, Pratap will start the session.
Okay, ma'am. A very good morning to everyone. Welcome to the Alumni Interaction Meet 21-22. This occasion is very special as we are celebrating 75 glorious years of our
Your
college.
voice is low, Pratap.
Yes, sir. Just a minute. Welcome everyone to the Alumni Interaction Meet 21-22. This occasion is very special for all of us as we are celebrating 75 glorious years of our college, and along with it, our information technology department is celebrating 20 years in Walchand College of Engineering, Sangle. So first of all, I would like to congratulate each and everyone over here to be the part of great legacy. Also, we are very fortunate to celebrate this occasion together, although it is an online mode of interaction, with the goal to promote excellence by encouraging creativity and critical thinking to stay ahead in the latest development in information technology. The Department of Information Technology was established in 2001. Since the beginning, the department has produced excellent IT engineers who are serving in different reputed organizations and pursuing higher studies at the Institute of Excellence. The strength of our department has been in a diverse area of research in which it has made a remarkable contribution. Now, I would like to welcome our HOD, Mr. Dr. Umbarkar sir, to guide us on this very auspicious occasion.
Good morning, all of you. Uh, the college has decided to celebrate the Platinum Jubilee of the Institute by arranging lots of events, not only by the student association, by the department and by the college also. So college is planning their events and department is also planning their own events. As well as I am instructing the student association, state as well as WLG, which is associated with the IT department, to arrange at least 12 events so that the importance of the 75 years we can understand what our alumni is doing and how we can get the help of our alumni. That is very important over here. So we have 75 years history, and what we have done in 75 years. This is the time to go through it, and then where we are right now, and then in what way we should go ahead. So for this purpose, our alumni is the best mirror for us. So if our alumni tell us or told us lots of things to improve, we have to do that. So in that way, the IT department has arranged the first activity. This is the first activity. So we have called Anand Ningre to talk about the entrepreneurship, talk about the startups, and as he is the MBA from the reputed institutes, he will guide us. Of course, any one of us can take his guidance whenever you want to start the startups. Not only here, he can also guide us to have some sponsored projects, final year projects or mini projects. Not only that, you can also go for the internship by collaborating with our alumni. I would like to tell you all here is that many of our alumni have started their own startup. Anand is one of them, and I know few of them. I need to collect the information that how many people have started their own company. One of your senior is, I think, Lahamdi. So he just started his own startup by in the final year. So this is the very important era of IT, where the student can plan their future and they can think about their own startup. Of course, Anand is the right person who can guide us, and I request Anand to please feel free to talk with all the students and the faculty, and also you can communicate with the department to directly me and to the faculties also. So I request Anand to go ahead, please.
Thank you so much, Umbarkar sir, for your inspiring words. Now it's time to introduce our today's alumni, Mr. Anand Ingde sir. Anand Ingde sir is 2011 batch pass out. After completing his BTech from YCE, sir completed his MBA from IIM Lucknow. Sir has worked with couple of advertising companies, but his realization that the agencies gave more focus on creativeness and less focus on number. But the number is the most important thing when it comes to advertising. This led to the startup of his own 360-degree advertising company, Contestic Marketing. Presently, Sir is serving as a CEO at Contestic Marketing. So now it's time to welcome Anand Ingde sir for the alumni interaction session on entrepreneurship. Please, sir.
Thank you, Pratap. Thank you for that warm introduction. And thank you, Umbarkar sir and Khoth ma'am for having me here. Even before, so it's one of those days, like my every day begins with presentations only. But today has to be special when I'll be interacting with my younger selves sitting out there. So even before I get into my presentation, I really want it to be interactive. The thing is, there are almost around 90 people out there. So what I suggest is, whatever questions that you all have, please make a note of it, and maybe towards the end, because you may have certain doubts, and apart from my presentation, I would love to clear those doubts. So I am looking forward to a lot of questions towards the end of the presentation. I will now start sharing my screen and take you through my journey, how it has been. So just a second, I'll just share my screen. I hope you can see my screen, right? So if someone can confirm.
Yes, we
Yes,
can
Hello.
see.
the screen is visible.
Okay. So yeah, the topic which I specifically chose is entrepreneurship, and what I feel is, if I can, you can too. Being one of you all, if I can start on my own, I feel you can too. At the same time, what I have compiled here is a part of my journey. At the same time, if I want to give some message to my younger selves, who are sitting in college right now, who are completing their BTech, what that message can be, that's the whole agenda of my presentation. So I have kept it in a story form, just to take you through the overall journey. And I'm glad to tell you all that this is the month when I started on 3rd August 2015. So we are on the verge of completing 6 years. We are planning to celebrate our 6th anniversary soon. So I even before I start the presentation, I am really glad to inform you about the same. Now I will just start with my brief introduction. So I don't know if you can guess out of the three who am I, but that's fine. I come from a small town called Ambernath from district Thane. I studied in a vernacular medium till standard 10th, total Marathi medium till standard 10th. My father is retired from Bank of India. My mom is a homemaker, and my sister is a school teacher. Now, why I'm sharing these details, just to tell you that I like many of you can relate with me. Then I just want you to be with me and to relate that the journey that I have had, even you can have the same journey in your life. So that's the reason I'm just sharing my details with you. I did my BTech from Walchand, and I had 7.03. That was my pointer. Like, I not the brightest of them all, but yeah, I was somewhere there. I got placed in Infosys and Cognizant. Like many of my batchmates, I was also I was also got placed in Infosys and Cognizant. But I cracked CAT the same year, and I decided to join IIM Lucknow for my MBA. So the same year when I passed out, I joined as a fresher in IIM. And obviously, when I finished my MBA from IIM, I opted out from placement, and I joined a startup. And that is one decision which actually changed my life. Joining a startup over a reputed firm. And then after a couple of years working in the advertising agencies, I started my own firm in 2015. So that's more about my journey. Now, if you see, there is nothing special as such. As I said, I was one among you all. And even before I tell you anything inspiring about myself, I want you to realize that you can easily relate that, okay, yeah, he is one among us, and if he can, we can too. That's the clear message that I want to give you all. Now, if I look back at my batch of 60 people from BTech IT, apart from me, there are many, there are around 5+ people who have also done MBA from IIM, or there are many people who have done MBA from premier MBA institutes like Signam or Symbiosis. There are many people who have also done MTech from IITs or MS from abroad. Actually, there are people like that as well. Then there are many people who are either working on site or who are settled abroad. If we really look back, in a small batch of 60, I can easily name many people who are actually staying abroad and working on site. But if I right now, if today, if I look at my particular batch, I know that I am the only entrepreneur from my batch at this point in time. Now this this number this is not something which makes me proud, to be frank with you. This number has to go up, right? We need to figure out why only one entrepreneur from a batch of 60 people when there are many brilliant people who are out there. Obviously every person has different life choices. If I chose entrepreneurship, doesn't really mean that you also have to choose it, right? But at the same time, if I look at my batch at IIM Lucknow as well, I can still tell you that out of the batch of 400+ people, there are only around 10 entrepreneurs. The number is still low over there. Really about my grad, but even my postgrad, even their number is still not that great. Which means that there is some resistance to entrepreneurship. If we look at it, there is something which stops us from starting on our own. And this is one reason which actually stops us. Now when I started up in 2015, I had two choices. I had an international job offer, and then I had an offer from one of my client who was willing to invest in my firm if I am willing to set it up. This was a choice, and this is a very difficult choice. If you ask me, this has to be the toughest choice which I have made till date. And again, I feel proud to tell you all that even this international job offer, I haven't really submitted my last presentation. So they had around 7 rounds of interview, and even before I went for the 7th round, I have made up my mind, and I have decided that what I want to do in life is I want to start on my own, and I haven't really gone for that 7th interview. Still they offered me the job role, and still I denied it. The thing was very clear. If you are deciding on something, you can't really distract yourself from something else. That point has to be very, very clear. And I know there are around 100 people who are listening to me. A very simple message is it is not only about entrepreneurship, but in your life as well. When you decide on something, it is very important to not get distracted by something else. There will always be something better than what you are deciding, right? If I would have decided to take an international job, there might have been something more lucrative than that as well. Like there is always something which is better than what we are doing. But the whole point is to have that conviction that, okay, this is the thing that I want to do. Like, and then forget about everything else. Forget about what your friends are doing, what your family is suggesting, everything. Like if you are deciding on something, like that has to be the thing that you should be doing in your life. So like one question when I talk about entrepreneurship, many people ask me is, did I know that I will be starting up my own company? Like, like this question, like many people have asked me. So I thought, this is the right platform to answer it. Like, obviously, yes. I mean, like, when I was doing my engineering, or even before like when I was just a kid, I always had this dream in mind. And let me be very, very frank with you all. You ask yourself, like, if we ask ourselves, many of us want to do it. Like, if I ask anyone in my circle as well, we all want to start on our own. Like, everyone wants to be their own boss. And then, but like, very few can. Like there has to be some reason to it. Like, everyone, like, if you ask yourself right now, you will also realize that, okay, yes, I want to do it someday. But then what is the reason? What's the reason that it's stopping us from doing it? If you ask me, like, this was one of the first reason why I really, like, didn't want to get into entrepreneurship. The reason was, obviously, I belong to a very, very simple, humble background. And, like, we all know that, we are technically strong somewhere, but we feel that our communication is weak, right? We all have this feeling that we have a weak communication, and that's the reason we don't really want to get into something of our own. Now, if we really ponder over it, like see, like my mentor, like, who mentored me for my venture, he told me one thing very specifically. He told me that, you can't be good at everything, right? Like, you can't be good at technical, you can't be good at communication. You are meant to do something in your life. You can't really handle everything. So why not focus on your own strengths, right? Like, even obviously, communication is something which matters the most. Over the period of time, the way I used to speak when I was doing my graduation, then when I was doing my MBA, and like today when I present my pitch deck to my clients, obviously that's something where you evolve. But what matters the most is your core strengths. Like, you can have people to sell your product, but how strong is your product? That's something which is depending on you. So rather than, like, pondering over here and there, it is always important to focus on your strengths. So that is not a reason, like, which should stop you from going for your own venture. Another reason, like, this was one strong reason even for me as well. Like, as a person, you always have a resistance from family or society. Like, I come from a middle class Maharashtrian, like, family background. And if you if we talk about our community in particular, we are the last people to start the business, right? Like, even though there are many entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, hailing from Maharashtrian families, still, like, we have a stigma. Like, we always feel that, my father or whoever, like, whoever is the decision maker in the family, he will not allow me to get into something like this. And like I somewhere I feel that, it's just a gateway for us to stay away from a hardship. Like, if we see this particular scene in the movie, I hope you all of you have watched Three Idiots. Like, I have watched it 3 times in theater, so, like, has a greater impact on my life. But if you see the scene which is next to this, the scene is wherein, Farhan, he convinced his father that, like, even if I do something which I love, what will happen? Like, we will have a small house, we'll have a small car, but I will be happy. Like, that's the whole point. Like the thing is, you need to figure out what drives you. If you can figure that out, that, okay, this is something which drives me, then you will be in a position to focus on it, and to put all your efforts towards it. And that's what the whole movie was about. Like, if you see, it was more about, like, taking that particular decision which drives you as a person. And that is what I have done. Like, I won't shy away from saying that my family, even though they were all very supportive, they were not very much agreeing to the decision of me starting up. Like, obviously, because they, like, every family wants their kid have a safe life. Like, that is what we all job life. Like, it's the same way to up your life. So that pressure, even I had that pressure. But obviously, like this scene in the movie, what I did is, I was, when I was convinced about my business venture, I sat down and I convinced my family that, okay, this is the X amount which I will be earning every month, no matter what. I have planned my business accordingly. When you convince that, like, there is nothing which can stop you from doing something on your own. Reason number third, which is a valid reason, is I'll take up a job first and take the industry experience. Now we know, like, many people who have dropped out of college and started on their own. We, like, even Indian as well as like global entrepreneurs who have opted out from their college and started on their own. We have those names, but everyone can't be that special, right? Like, everyone can't be a Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, right? So we know that, we need to know certain things first, even before we get into something on our own. Now the problem is, when you get into a comfort zone, what happens is, you start earning X amount every month, and then what happens is, it stops you from coming out of that comfort zone and then building something on your own, because you know that, we all have our liabilities. You buy your home, you buy your first car, and all these things, like, these things are also equally important to all of us. But then the whole point is, if you know that you can control yourself, like, your feelings, your mindset, then nothing can stop you from coming out of your comfort zone. So when I say comfort zone, it's mainly about, sticking to a company for a few years, and then you realize that you're okay with the people out there, you're okay with your job profile, you're okay with the salary that you are earning. You will always be okay with the things that you are getting anyways, right? Like, stepping up is something which matters the most. And that's one of the critical decision. Even when I took this decision, like, it was critical for me as well. Like, I realized that, okay, I've worked with a couple of agencies, which is fine, like, but if I want to start on my own, I'll have to think about it. Like, I can't really focus on the same thing and then have something of my own as well. I have many friends, like, who have tried venturing into something while having their job. Like, you can't really, like, if you ask me, you can't really do that unless you are giving your 100% to something. Not like you can't really make it big. You may still be successful, but if you really want to make it big, you have to have a full-hearted approach to it. And unless you have a full-hearted approach, like, nothing is going to change. So that's another problem. Reason number 4, and this was one of the very critical reasons because of which, like, when I speak to my batchmates from IIM, like, why have they stayed away from getting into something on their own? One important thing that everyone talks about is, you won't get time for yourself. Like, people will say that the venture, like, when you get into something of your own, it consumes a lot of time, which is right. Like, if you ask me, like, I like my entire day I commit to my organization. Like, that's how it is. But then, like, I like, it is your choice. If I tell you, like, this is my photo from one of the poetry open mics that I have been to while being an entrepreneur. So, I always focused on my hobby as well. I have finished one book of my poems. I manage my poetry account on Instagram. So I don't really find any reason which will stop you from having your own life. Like, I don't really see that as something which will stop you. If you want to find time for something, you can anyways find it. Like, you if you don't want to find it, you will always have 100 reasons to not do that thing. Like, you will always have 100 reasons to stop you from doing it. So when I see my life, I think I have as much fun as my friends who are working for some organizations they have. Like, I travel abroad. I manage a lot of trips in India as well. I spend a lot of time for photography as well. So, like, I do enjoy my life, and I don't really see this as a reason, like, for not getting into something of your own. Like, and this is particularly about my experience. Even if we look at the global scenario or Indian scenario, if we talk about what does it take to start up, like, if you really want to do something on your own, and if you ask yourself what does it take to start up, the first thing is, people will always say that, you need to have a unique idea. The idea has to be path breaking. The idea has to be very strong. If we see Facebook, Like, Facebook came after Orkut. Orkut was already there, and Orkut was having a decent social media presence. The user base was strong. Still, Facebook managed to beat Orkut and everyone else out there and become a global leader. Now, if we see, I won't really call Facebook's idea as a unique idea, because social media platform was already there. They built on it, right? They were not the one who introduced social media as an idea. So the idea was not unique. Still, they are a global leader. Another thing that people will always tell and talk about is funding. People will always say, you need a lot of funding to build something on your own. I don't know how many of you have heard of Zerodha. It's a discount broker platform from India. It's the only bootstrap startup from India which was which has gone ahead and become a unicorn. When I say unicorn, it's having a valuation over $1 billion. That and a bootstrap startup. Like, no one has funded it. Like, the founder, they have built it on their own. So that's the Zerodha story. So there are startups like Zerodha without any funding. They have managed to become big. Another thing that people will talk about is infrastructure. Now, if you talk about infrastructure, all of us, we have grown up listening to these stories of how Steve Jobs or how Bill Gates they have started their companies sitting in their family garage. We know that, right? So we know that having a computer, you can still build something exceptional. It's not always about infrastructure as well. Team, people will always say that you need to find the right people, right combination of people. If we talk about Jeff Bezos, who started Amazon, he was a one-man army. At that point in time, when it started as an online bookstore, and he was the only guy working from. Obviously, he took a loan from his family, which is still okay. But talking about his team, he was the only guy in the team when they started up. And look today where Amazon is. We all know how many people work for Amazon today. So the whole point of me telling you all this entire story about myself, as well as few global and Indian examples, is if you really want to do it, you can still do it. There is nothing which can stop you. Now let's figure out how to do it. That is equally important. If you have the conviction inside your heart that, okay, I know I can do it. Now I want to know, how should I do it? Now we will talk about that now. So what's the key to winning in startups? What was my learning? If you ask me, what did I learn as my experience of 6 years as an entrepreneur? The only thing I learned is patience. You have to have patience being an entrepreneur. Every day is different for you. It is not the same. You will have some challenge today, another challenge tomorrow, and a very different challenge altogether day after. And that's the reason, unless you have patience, one day you will crack a million, $1 million deal, and another day, you will lose best of your best client. That's how life has been for me as well. So I know that the only thing that matters is surviving. That's the best you can do in startup. You survive, because there are we all know housing.com, right? How big it became, and then how was the fall. We all have seen this kind of falls in many startups. So we know that you need to keep patience, and you need to keep on building on whatever you have built. That's the kind of approach. So even if you are thinking about doing something on your own, let me be very clear for you. I won't still call myself as a successful entrepreneur. If you ask me, I am still trying to build something on my own, even after 6 years. So I have given 6 years of my life to my venture, and that's the kind of commitment that you will have to keep if you are planning to do something to make big on your own. So that's the key ingredient that you will need. Now I will also answer few other key questions, even in my discussion with Umberkar sir, the other day. We talked about certain doubts which he raised on behalf of you, and there were certain questions which I thought, if I would have been in your place, I would have asked my someone like me. So I will just try to answer those questions first. Very important question is, what's the right time to start up? What's the right time? So if we see these two guys out there, we know that Zuckerberg, he started at 23, and Jack Ma started at 34, and they both of them, they are one of the richest people in the world right now. So like if I have to answer this question, what's the right time to start up? I think like you have to be convinced about your skills to execute certain idea and to hold on to certain idea. When I say execute and hold on to, what I mean is you need to understand that okay, this is the idea I'm working on. I have got the skills to execute it, and I can still focus on executing the idea. If I'm convinced about all these 2-3 things, I think then it is the right time. Like and this conviction can come at any age. Like you can be still in the second year of your engineering, and you realize that okay, now this is the biggest idea that I have in mind, and I got a skill set to execute it as well, and I know this is what I want to do in my life, like for next 10, 15, 20 years. If you have that conviction, I think that's the right time to venture on something of your own. If I talk about like my starting on my own, how I had this conviction. Obviously, I didn't really venture into advertising blindly. I worked in an advertising startup to understand how the technicalities are. Like how many people do I need? What is the kind of funds that I'll need to keep everything on rolling? What are the like how to approach the new clients? All those things I learned in the startup environment, like where I spent initial days of my career. And then like right after I left that startup, I joined another established advertising agency and headed their business. So when I say headed their business, it was like I was at a leadership position where I was heading the entire agency for a company, right? Like for someone else. So like based on these two experiences, I realized that okay, now I have got the required skill sets, and I think I am ready to get into something on my own. And if I tell you all, I was just 26. Like when I started, my age was 26, and still, like as I said, I had that conviction, and that's the very important reason that I took this call. That okay, I think I can go ahead and build something on my own. Now, like if you realize that okay, I know that I can do something of my own, then how to take that first step, right? Like taking a first step is always the most difficult part. Like I already told you about me taking a first step, like denying an international job and then getting into something of your own. Like how do we go ahead and take that first step? So you need to find the midway, right? Like you need to like and I really want you all to, like whoever is planning to venture into something of your own, to note down these 3 important points. First thing is write down things you do the best. Like things you do the best. There might be 100 other people who might be still best in what you are doing, but still, like if we talk about your personal strengths, what is that 2-3 things that you feel that you are best at? Just note them down. Think about a problem faced by industry or people in general. Like like if you know that okay, this is one industry problem, and then if you know that okay, if you know a solution for it, and if you think that the skills that you have are good enough to solve that particular problem, then I think then you have figured it out. Then that's the time to take your first step. Like where you should take your first step. If I talk about myself, like if I talk about Quantastic, my own firm, I always know that I'm good at 2 things. I am good at writing. That's a creative strength that I have, and I'm good at numbers. Like those are the two key strengths that I have as a person. Then I realized that while working in advertising agency that people, they're focusing on creatives and not on numbers. Like people, like when I say not on numbers, when you put up an advertisement, it should give results back, right? Like if you're promoting something, you should get something in return. And people were not getting things in return. Like people were not focused on performance. So that's when like I combined my own skill sets, and then I started Quantastic, wherein I pitched to the market that our focus is to give you numbers. Like we will always focus on making sure that if we are doing your advertising, you will see results in terms of numbers. And that is where like we differentiated, and that is why we managed to survive, because we had this clarity about what is the base of our existence. Like if you venture into something, you need to understand what is the base for your organization, and this was the base for my organization, and that this is the reason like we managed to survive. Now, like even if we have the best of the best idea, like tomorrow we will come up with a very out of the box idea. What you need to do is you need to evaluate your business idea, right? Like you can't really jump on a conclusion that okay, this is the best idea out there. How to evaluate it? I'm just giving you a litmus test wherein how to do the preliminary evaluation of an idea. First thing first is, like, obviously when you have an idea, for example, if I'm coming up with a mobile phone, okay, the first thing which I will see is the entire mobile market. Can I have a largest, like a decent share of pie of the entire market? Can I have that? If I can't, then there is a problem. Like, if I may end up being some small player in the market. If I know that I can disrupt the market the way MI has done it, right? Like, if we take Xiaomi as a brand, the way MI has disrupted the market, they have grabbed the decent pie, like giving value for money as a concept. So like, that's where you grab a share of pie of the market. And another like there will be two cases. Another thing is, when you increase the overall size of a pie. Now, if you see this is a smaller pie, this is a bigger pie. Like, what has happened is, if you are coming up with some product which anyways, like, people were not using earlier, but because you came into the market, people will start using. Like, that is a disruption that you are doing to the market. That may be another case. So you need to figure it out, whether whatever idea that you have in mind, is it fitting in any of these cases. The reason is very simple. Unless it fits into any of these cases, you will not be having enough market for your product or service. And then if you don't really have enough market, you will, like, your organization will die someday or the other. Like that's a problem. So that's the reason it is very important to evaluate your idea. And I'm giving you a very, very simple step to evaluate it. Because what happens is, when we come up with the idea, we think that it is the best idea in the world. Like, we always think why someone else has not even tried it, right? So like, like we need to see the downside, and that this is where we realize the downside. We need to find out why will people not use it and use someone else's product. Like, we need to think from that perspective. And this is where, we will get most of our answers even before we move ahead to plan the execution. So like, if you get the best of the best idea, let's say you've got the best idea, and now, like, this has to be one of the very important slide for you all as well, whoever is planning to start on their own. We all always think that, how exactly I'm going to raise funds for my business. If you see, like, like getting a funding, like, if your idea is good enough, you like open Google and put startups who have raised funds in past 1.5 years. I'm talking about the pandemic year. And, like, you will still realize that there are startups who have raised funds in billion. Like, how do they manage to do that? The whole point I'm trying to make is, if your idea is strong enough, there are people who are willing to put money in your ideas. If you're, like, when I say seed funding, it's basically funding that you raise even before you venture into something. Like, the funding that you need to start something, like the initial funding that you need. Obviously, the initial funding can come from your family, friends, from the incubators. Like, there are many colleges who provide incubation in India. We also have various government loan schemes. Like, if you Google, there are various schemes started by government particularly for startups. So you may apply over there as well. That's the initial fund I'm talking about. Even, like, you must be participating in various hackathons. Like, if you do your own set of research, I don't know how many of you are aware about it, but, like, we work with certain organizations to promote hackathons. Like, we being an advertising agency, we help them promote their hackathons. And that is where I've realized that, like, there are many corporates who provide opportunities to become an entrepreneur. Like, they will hire you for executing something inside their organization. And again, that's a great opportunity, because they will give you some sharing as well in the product. So again, that's a good opportunity. You can always do that kind of a research if you really want to get into something of your own. That's one of the way to raise funds. Third thing that you can Google is angel networks. Like, even we are promoting certain angel networks. Like, they are our clients actually. And I realized that, these angel networks, they have a biggest role to play. Angels are basically people who have decent funds and who look for investing in startups in the scale of, let's say, 3 to 10 lakh rupees. Like, a small scale investments basically. And they look early stage startups. So that can be another way to raise funds. So if your product is ready, if you're building something in college, you may approach these angel networks. Like, there is this Mumbai Angel Network, Kolkata Angel Network, India Angel Network. You can always Ham Angel Network. You can always Google them and you need to submit your startup application, your business plan to them. You need to show your product readiness, and there will be people like they continuously have their pitch days wherein you can go and pitch your startup and raise funds. So that's another way to raise funds. And then lastly, it's private equity. It's basically that's the most difficult and the last stage, wherein like whenever you are looking for an investment around 30-40 cr, like or above that, like that's where the private equity comes into the picture. So what I'm showing you is it's a step basically, like you start with the seed funding or participating in hackathon, you approach an angel investor, you build something, you make yourself capable to approach private equity firms. So this is the general knowledge that that I wanted to share with you all. Another important, like apart from investment, another important point is how to go about the right team, right? You can't be doing like everything together, like everything on your own. You need people to do things together, and that is where you need to find out right people. Even though like you can start something on your own, to make it big, to scale it up, you will always need good people. And like if you ask me as an entrepreneur, how did I build my team? I will say that I didn't really build a team, I built a culture. When I say culture, like I'll just give you a few small examples. So these are two photos of two awards that we have won, and if you see, like in this photo I'm not even there. In this photo, like when we designed a logo for BRICS Summit, we have been felicitated by late Sushma Swaraj ma'am. And if you see, like in both the cases, what I've done is I've always put my employees ahead of me. Like I thought that they are the one who drive the entire show, and they have to be the front runner when we achieve something as well. Like that is one of the very important thing that we build as a culture. The another important thing that we did as a culture is we started period leave on Women's Day few years back. Like we like many established organizations, they don't have a period leave for their employees, and this is like having around 17 employees today. We still have a period leave for our employees. That's something like which talks much about the culture that we have built in house. Even during COVID, like we have given a month-long paid leave to our employees whose family suffered due to COVID-19. We know how tough it was for all of us, and we didn't really shy away. Being a startup as well, like we thought that we need to make sure that the employee gets full salary, even though they are taking leave for COVID-related situation in their home. We do have a flexible hour policy for working mothers. So we have two working mothers with us right now, and we believe that giving them flexibility is something which matters the most. And even in the difficult times of pandemic as well, where they are handling things at their home and then managing the work as well. So that's something which we did as a culture. We are inclusive of LGBTQIA. Like we have people from the community working in Quantastic on a full time. Like so we like when many organizations still discriminates against people from LGBTQ community, we at Quantastic believe that discrimination at any like we can't really tolerate it at any level. So like so that is what our culture is. Like if I like these are the few examples that I wanted to share. Like even when you build something on your own, what matters the most is the kind of culture that you build around it, right? And this culture actually drives talented people to come in your organization and work for you. And like unless you set up that kind of a culture, it will always be difficult to attract the right talent. And this is what we have done, and I'm lucky to have the team that I have. All of them are equally talented and are adding to the value that we are delivering to our clients. This is more about the kind of culture that we have built. Lastly, like even before I open for Q&A, another important thing that I wanted to share is the problems that we faced during pandemic. Like this has to be an important learning for someone who is getting into a business. Even we suffered a lot. Like if I talk to you, I tell you, we dropped, like we were around 10 employees before pandemic. We dropped to 6 employees at the start of pandemic. We lost many people. They reached their organization, or like there were multiple difficulties. And today, if I tell you, we have 7 employees today in our organization. So like from 6 to again 17, that is what talks volume about our bounce back story. And if I tell you how exactly we bounced back, we followed a very simple method, like, change, adapt, survive. That was our formula. Like, we need to change. We need to change. When I say we need to change, like, we started working from home, but then at the same time, we still managed to change our overall business development strategy. We focused on industries which were still growing in pandemic, because, like, we have that flexibility to pick and choose industries that we wish to cater to. That is how we changed our overall business development strategy. At the same time, we adapted ourselves with additional technology. So we realized that, there were certain services which we were not selling even before pandemic. But with the rise of digital services during pandemic, we also added certain digital services in our kitty. So, things that we were not doing earlier, we started doing it during the pandemic. Like, because we realized if we don't, we may fail. Like that was very clear. And that is how we managed to survive, not only survive, but to come out of a very, very difficult phase. And then right now we are doing really well in our market. So that was more about the kind of growth story that we've had in the 1.5 year of pandemic. Finally, like this is one of the last slide that I have. Even if you're ready, like the only challenge which I see, like the only mistake that many people do is you tend to do everything on your own. Like, even Umbergar sir asked me, like, how people can go about registering their company and everything. My 2 cents out here is, you keep some budget aside for doing basic things like hiring a company registration consultant or a tax consultant or a banking partner or a HR hiring partner, because these are the people who are very well averse with their own core competencies. And if you focus on your competencies and let them focus on their competency, you can still manage to save your time and money both. And that's the reason, like, if you're really looking to start something sitting right in your organization, I will still tell you that, save some money and put that money and hire a consultant who can help you out with doing basic paperwork, because that is where we go wrong. And I'm talking with my experience. Like, I tried doing something on my own and I have burned my hands over there. And that's the reason, like, if you ask me, I feel that, you need to find right people to do that job for you. So that is more from my end. Like, what I wanted to cover was the journey that I have had. If someone really wants to, like, I wanted to motivate people who are on the verge of starting up, at the same time, like, tell you about the difficulties that you may face, and then, like, few tips in terms of funding as well as the overall approach to entrepreneurship. So if you have any doubts or any questions, I think I would love to take those now.
Thank you, Anand. From students, anyone wants to discuss anything? You have any doubts regarding the entrepreneurship, regarding the startup? The platform is free. Anand is here. You can ask.
Anand, I have one question.
Yes, sir.
You have done MBA. So what do you think that our UG student should focus on?
Can you repeat the question, sir? Like, I can't really hear you.
If you have done MBA, right?
Right,
After
right.
your graduation.
Right.
So what do you think that we should adopt in our UG as an experience of your IIM?
Okay.
Like, say you have done something in IIM, and how we can, like, say, adopt those things for particularly for example in software engineering. So you might have learned something
Got it,
new
sir.
over there. So how we should go ahead?
Okay. So like, if we see the only couple of courses that we have right now, like when I was in the college, couple of courses where one was related to economics and another was the industrial management as a management course that we have. So what I really feel is, and even like obviously we had a communication skills as a course in the first year of engineering. I somehow feel that, communication has to be there, like, all across. Like, that's something which can't be 1 year or one term course. It has, like, we need to have something which can help student improvise on their communication in the 4 years. Like see, engineering has to be that time of your career wherein, you have, like, I will still rate engineering where you have a lot of free time in your hand. And I like, if I compare my life in IIM, I somehow feel that, like, if I compare with the other students, there were a couple of challenges that I faced, particularly when I was in IIM. One was obviously communication skills. Another was mainly about not having an industrial experience. So we can always make compulsory the internships during third or fourth year, wherein people like students can get the industry exposure. And talking about the course, like if I talk about the MBA courses particularly, I somehow feel that we need to add more courses in terms of operations. So when I say operations, like it is mainly about the business decision makings, things related to that. I think those are the few courses. If we start adding them even as an elective, they will help students prepare well even before they get into IIM or any institute of that sort. That's something which I would like to focus on. There are a few questions in the comments as well.
Chat box. Please proceed.
I will just So Ashupriya is asking, how was your IIM interview as you had joined as a fresher? There are other people as well who has years of experience of job and decide MBA. Now, if I tell you about I just take 2 minutes to tell you about my interview experience of IIM Lucknow. We all know that things were very different earlier, like 10 years back when I was in Walchand. And the thing that I prepared, the points on which I prepared my overall interview was basically about my background. And I am really happy to tell you all that I had explored places around Sangli when I was there, and my entire interview was on that topic. They asked me mainly about things that I have witnessed in Sangli. They asked me the first question that they asked me was about tell me a thing which I don't know about Sangli. That was one of the very first question that they asked. And if the way I answered it is I told them that Lata Mangeshkar is from Sangli. That was my first line. So I started from that, and then I explained a lot of things about Sangli. So the whole thing that I realized is IIM interviews, they are not about judging you against others, but it is more about how aware you are about yourself. So the entire interview experience was figuring out about myself. They asked me about Sangli, they asked me about Ambarnath. I am from Buldana, my native is Buldana. So they asked me about Buldana as well. So the overall interview was more about how self-aware I am. It was not anywhere related to any technical stuff or of that sort. That is how. And then when I established myself as a person who is aware about things happening around him, I think that is one reason why I managed to crack the interview. So that I hope, Ashubhiya, that answers your question. Rathod sir is asking what I think taking decision is important in life. Might go in any direction, but decision is important. Yes, sir, absolutely. Taking a decision, you can only make a change in your life by taking decisions. If you don't take decisions, you will always be there where you are right now, and that is where everything is drills down to. Himanshu Maurya is asking, you started up in the Indian advertising industry, which already has big shots like Ogilvy, etc. How do you plan to become one of those big names in the industry? So, Himanshu, my plan is not really to go there. My entire plan is to become a boutique consulting firm later on, wherein if we really look at the advertising scenario, as you rightly said, there are many people who are already doing many things out there. If we talk about Ogilvy, their entire focus was on TVCs, particularly if you see their history in India at least, or in print media. The way we are differentiating right now is by focusing on digital media. So when I say digital media, the entire thing is earlier by putting up an ad on TV, you won't be figure out, you can still measure the viewership, but you can't really figure out how many people have bought your product by seeing your ad on television. Right now, what we are doing for our clients is, we are actually helping them achieve their sales. So that is the plan, focusing on giving them sales rather than just promoting themselves.
Digital
Yes,
marketing, you're saying, and so it is related to the IT. So web is there, and social media is there. So how you recommend that our students should focus in this direction, and what they should focus when they are learning the courses related to the web or courses related to the online things? So where they should focus if they want to do some digital marketing at their own.
Sir, can you repeat that question? I lost my connection.
Okay, so we all are from the IT background, and
Right.
we know web very well, and we are learning lots of subject related to the online, right?
Right.
So technically we are good in that, but how
Right.
you recommend that where our students should focus when they want to their own digital marketing or they want to help other people?
Yeah. So like, I will talk about few things which may become big in future. One is voice search. Like, if we see like if we see kids or even elderly people in the family, they may not be they may not find it very convincing to type and search on Google. But what they do is, they push the mic icon and they put up a voice search in Google. So that is something which is going to be big. And like the whole point is, when we do voice search, you end up getting only one result on Google. So to like right after a few years, when this voice search will become very important, all websites will strive to come in as the first result in terms of the voice search results. Basically, like that will be one of the key focus area in terms of digital marketing, which I see growing in near future. Another area which I particularly see is rise of vernacular language. Right, we all know many people they like, if we see India as a market, even Google, if we see many people use Google or even Facebook in their own languages, like and that is something which will become big for many consumer driven companies, wherein they will focus on being more consumer friendly by offering their products or their content in vernacular languages. And like, we being from IT industry, we need to figure that out, how we can have a smooth transition. Like, so the translation that is available right now, it's word to word, right? How can we make it more convincing for people or more convenient for people to use that? It's something like, which the industry will look into. And SEO, like when search engine optimization, it's something which is already very big right now. Like people like obviously like it's big since many years, but the way Google keeps on changing their algorithm, I still feel that if we do our own set of research and come up with tools, basically tools which the industry can use. So you can always, like, you can always Google Neil Patel and see the kind of tools that he has built globally. Like, so there are many people like him who have their own set of tools. So even if we create some tool which the industry can use, there are a lot of people who can give fundings for that, like, which even I know. So I think that is another area where students can focus on. So I think that I hope that helps you to answer that question. So there are a few additional So another question is, as a startup, how do you conduct research and find potential customers, and what goes into it? Now, see, like the thing is, while in IIM, and like, even you can check with our own library as well, you have an access to a lot of research papers which are out there. Like, so that is the best way. When you are in college, I really miss the library, that like, because you sitting in your room in hostel, you get an access to a research paper which generally you can't really get outside the college. So I think that's the best way to do a secondary research. And if you talk about a primary research, so like I conduct research for my clients, so I know, for startups actually. So we generally go on ground, take consumer surveys, analyze them, use all the tools to analyze them. We have few tools to analyze things digitally as well. So it's a good mix of doing a secondary research, a good mix of getting on ground and doing a research, at the same time using the research tools that you have. Like, you need to find the best use of all the three to get into a scenario where you can do a research for your particular product that you're working on. If you really want to get deeper into it, you can contact me, and I may also share a few tools with you for the same. What should a startup prefer when it comes to pay the employees, ESOPs or salaries? Now, see, like, ESOPs, even though they look lucrative from the entrepreneur's point of view, employees will always focus on getting more salaries, and that is how the thing is. Like when I hired people for Quantastic, I didn't really focus on ESOPs, but I gave them a raise on their existing salaries to give them that confidence that they are not joining a small firm. Like they're joining a company which is capable enough to hire them on a higher salaries than what they're getting right now. I think that is a right way to go about in the initial stage. If you ask me, I really I will always think from employees' perspective, and I don't think ESOPs will add much value from the employee's point of view. Were you planning to get into IIM during the initial stage of your graduation? I started preparing by end of my third year. Yeah, obviously, yes, I had that in mind that I want to get into IIM. As you have done MBA, you know how much more about marketing as compared to graduate IT person. If you want to start up in IT industry regarding IT products, how to manage to get clients, marketing of our product. Okay. So see, like that, like I that was there on my last slide as well. The whole point is, you can't really do it on your own. Like, you need to find out a right partner who can help you market your product. So you need to focus on your competency. There are many agencies or even the freelancers who can help you out with your marketing. You need to have your own team to market it. Like, you need to have your own marketing plan as good as your business plan. Like, you need to have a business plan, and the marketing plan has to be a subset of it. So as I said, like, you can't really, like, you can't be good at everything. So you don't really sit down and figure out the marketing for your product. Leave it to an expert. You can easily find out someone in the market. And at the same time, like, you can always look into the similar case studies. If you want to do your preliminary set of research as a founder, you can find out how these big IT products have built themselves. There are a lot of products which have raised enough funding in past few years when it comes to IT related products. And the whole point that they have done is, the founder is always focused on building that product and making it strong enough, while other people, like, their point is they hire right talent to market themselves. I think that is a good mix that you need to have. Otherwise, like, I don't really, if you focus on doing it on your own, trust me, it will take a lot of your time, and you will, like, end up giving time to your product first. Like, that has to be the important approach. As a college student, what habits you pick up which help you be what you are now? So see, like, I was not much into reading earlier, but while I was in Walchand, I started reading a lot. That was one important thing that changed my life. I still feel that I might have utilized my time in a better way. I focused on improving my communication skills. That was one area where I focused on when I was in Walchand. Like, that was one area I figured out my own way to improve my communication skills. Was not really waiting for, like, to have a formal instructions, but I was, I figured out my own ways to go about it. So I think that is something which you need to figure out where you are weak at, and then start building on it. Like, start to improvise on the same skills. I really like the another habit that I picked up was delivering presentations. Like, I was the guy who, like, I was not that technically sound, but I always focused on creating presentations and delivering on it, because I know somewhere down the line that is something which I will be doing. So that is one area which I focused on. You have completed your MBA in 2013, started your own startup in 2016. What you did from 2013 to 16? How you used 3 years? Yeah. Okay. So see, Shubham, like, when I passed out from IIM, the market scenario was very poor. There were very, very few jobs in 2013 particularly, and people were joining any random companies. I chose to join a firm called Utopia. The whole idea was to get into a firm where I can focus on my strengths, and my strength was creativity. That was one of my strengths. So I realized that, I may be a successful person in advertising, and just to, like, that's a conviction that I have had. So the 3 years I utilized building on that conviction, like, and that turned out really well for me. So I know that, okay, this is my strength, but it's not only about your strength. You need to polish your strength, right? And like, that is what I did for 3 years, even before I ventured on something of my own. Could you please name the tools that you mentioned for proper market research and similar things? So Himanshu, see, like, I have mentioned my email ID. It's anand@contastic.in. I'll just put it over here as well. You write an email to me. I will share the links with you. So there are many tools like Uber Suggest, SEO, SEM Rush, which we use for digital marketing. There is Euromonitor, where I source the data. There are various sources which I particularly use for market research. So I need to know what kind of research you want to do, and maybe I may be able to guide you accordingly. See, trust me, library has to be the most important resource that we have. Generally, you next thing you should do is go to your library and ask what kind of databases we have subscribed to. Generally many colleges have subscriptions to many international databases, and we don't really know about it. When I joined IIM, I got to know about this. Even at Walchand, we had a very that was the year when that our library got functional. So I really feel sorry that I could not leverage a lot of it, but I feel that if you really want to do something, go there, ask them the kind of databases that they have an access to, and start finding out right data from those databases. I think you may end up getting something interesting. How can we improve our communication skills during our graduation? So Vaibhav, see, the whole point is I improved my communication skills when I ventured into Contastic. I will be very frank with you on that. The whole point is when I say improve, I was focusing on improving it, but my focus was not very clear. But when I realized that I will be the guy who will be representing the organization, that is where the entire focus shifted. So trust me, you have a lot of time in your hand. What I will suggest is start communicating. I mean, my entire we failed to do that. We used to stay 8 people together at Vijayanagar. Basically, we were 8 of us, and I feel that we might have assigned some day and spoke in English the entire day to improvise on our English language. That can be a simple step that we can always do. Assign that on Monday we will only speak in English. I think unless we speak, I don't think we will be able to improve. There are so many English speaking videos out there, but the whole point is seeing those videos is nothing but a waste of time. The only way you can learn is by talking in English and nothing else. You talk, and your friends, they're not going to judge you anyways, because somewhere they are more or less like you only. So but when you keep on doing it, I think that is where you learn to do it. Obviously we all watch English series or play games where there is a narrative in English, and that is how even I have improvised on my vocabulary. That is another way to build on your vocabulary as well. But the entire point is to practice. I think that's the best way to go about it. What leadership challenges you faced as an entrepreneur? How did you overcome it? The most important challenge is when people leave you, right? When people leave your organization, it's more like a failure for you. When you lose a client, it's not like a failure, but when you lose your employee, it's a failure, because they are leaving you for some reason. And somewhere I realized that whoever is joining will leave someday. Someday or the other they will leave the organization. And I took some time to grasp this fact, but I think that was one of the biggest challenge that I had in my initial days. And slowly then I realized that the only best thing that I can do is whoever is in the organization, I can offer them the best things. I can offer them the best infrastructure. I can offer them the best resources. So that is how I try to overcome that particular challenge. Obviously, there were a few financial crunch related challenges as well. But the whole point is you need to trust on your skills, and you need to be patient, and you get through things like that. That's life, basically.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, Pratap, over to you.
Okay, ma'am. Sir, one last question to you.
Yes.
What was the most what was your most satisfying moment in business when you felt that now everything is on track now, and you are on the verge of success? So what was that moment when you
Pratap,
felt?
I see, frankly speaking, no, if you ask someone who was even if you ask someone who has given 30, 40 years to their venture, they will still tell you that it's still a journey for them. Like I will be very upfront with you all that entrepreneurship is going to be like a roller coaster ride. Someday you will find something which is very success, like which will talk a volume about your success. Another day you will end up losing something big, and that is how the life of an entrepreneur will be. Like if you are ready for that life, then only you should be getting into something of your own. Otherwise, like if you like see, like we know all these big companies, like do we really think that a guy from Nokia might have felt that they will fail miserably someday? I don't think so. They were on the verge of success and then they failed miserably. Like that is how the thing is. Like you may be successful. Like there is a famous quote by Facebook's co-founder, actually. Like like that lady says that the success of an entrepreneur is not on how many awards that you have won, but it is mainly about how many years you have survived, basically. So if you are still surviving, you are successful. That's how I rate it. Like like I might have won 100 awards in past 6 years, and then if I'm closing it down today, again that's a failure, right? Like the whole point is to survive and to figure out how to survive. I think that's something which I have learned. So that I think that helps you answer that question.
Okay, sir. So thank you so much, Anand sir, for your enlightening words. It was really an honor listening to you. It
Thank
was
you.
really a motivating and effective session for all of us. This will really help. This will really help us in our future, especially for those who are interested in building their own businesses.
Thank you,
So
Pratap.
thank you so much, sir. Also,
Thank
I'd
you,
like to
everyone.
thank also, I would like to thank Umbarkar sir for their guidance and their support and for always being there. Next, I would like to thank our department coordinator, Ms. Amruta Khot ma'am, for their constant support and help. I would also like to thank each and every individual who is directly and indirectly involved in a successful conduct of the event. Finally, thank you everyone for attending this program. Now, with the permission of coordinator ma'am, I officially declare that this program ended. So thank you so much once again for attending
Thank
the
you.
program.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you,
all.